The Galactic Assessment. The Galactic Federation had studied Earth for over 3 centuries before making first contact. Their xenobiologists classified planets on a scale from 1 to 5 based on habitability and danger. Class 1 worlds were paradise planets with minimal predation and ideal conditions. Class 5 worlds were designated as Deathworlds, planets so hostile that the evolution of sapient life seemed improbable, if not impossible. Earth was unquestionably a Class 5 Deathworld. "It makes no logical sense," said Chief Xenobiologist Vaxmora, his 6 eyes blinking in sequence as he reviewed the data. The gravity alone should have prevented bipedal species from achieving dominance. And the atmospheric composition. Oxygen at 21% is practically corrosive. Mission Commander Tal Shiri fluttered her transparent wings in the hive gesture of contemplation. Yet they thrive. Not merely survive. Thrive. The observation vessel Harmonious Discovery maintained its position in high orbit, hidden behind Earth's moon. The crew of 17 different species had been collecting data for decades, their mission to determine if humans posed a threat to galactic stability. "Their predator density exceeds any other Deathworld we've encountered," continued Vaxmora. "Large carnivores on every continent. Microscopic pathogens that evolve at alarming rates. Weather systems that can level entire settlements. And the geological instability. Earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis. And yet they build cities atop fault lines and in the shadows of volcanoes," Tal Shiri noted. "They swim in oceans filled with venomous creatures for recreation. They climb mountains where the air is too thin to breathe, simply because, as they say, the mountains are there." The ship's diplomatic liaison, Ambassador Jolak, a being composed of crystalline structures that shimmered with every movement, joined the conversation. "The Federation Council has made their decision. We are to initiate first contact." Vaxmora's exoskeleton rattled in alarm. "They are not ready. Their civilization is fractured into hundreds of nations. They possess nuclear weapons and regularly engage in warfare with each other. Precisely why we must make contact now," Jolak countered. "Their technology advances rapidly. Within a century, they could develop interstellar travel. Better to bring them into the galactic community under our guidance than to let them discover us unprepared." The first contact was orchestrated with meticulous precision. The Federation vessels revealed themselves simultaneously over 12 major cities, representing different regions and political systems. The human response was predictably chaotic. Panic in some regions, celebration in others, military mobilization everywhere. "Fascinating," murmured Jolak as reports flowed in. "Their responses differ dramatically based on cultural context. The Chinese government has established immediate protocols for communication. The European Union has formed a special committee. The Russians have mobilized their military, but maintain open channels." "And the Americans?" asked Tal Shiri. Jolak's crystalline form clouded slightly. "America is proving difficult to categorize. The United States presented a paradox to the Federation observers. Unlike most nations, the response wasn't coordinated solely by central government. Individual states activated their National Guard units. Civilian militias assembled. Social media exploded with theories, from religious rapture to conspiracy claims. Gun sales skyrocketed, and yet, amid the chaos, there was a strange absence of true panic. They're preparing to fight," observed Vaxmora. "And to welcome," added Tal Shiri, noting the impromptu celebrations in Times Square and the handmade "Welcome Aliens" signs appearing across the country. "Both simultaneously," said Jolak. "This dichotomy defies explanation. The Federation established diplomatic outposts in willing nations. China provided a formal government complex. The European Union offered a purpose-built facility in Brussels. India welcomed them to a spiritual retreat in the Himalayas. America offered them Area 51. They believe we've been there before," explained Federation cultural specialist Nix Terra, her tentacles gesticulating in amusement. Their popular culture has long speculated about extraterrestrial presence at this military installation. Offering it to us is both a joke and a serious gesture of transparency. Ambassador Jolak found American humor particularly incomprehensible. They masked sincerity with sarcasm and serious matters with levity. How can one negotiate when unsure if a statement is meant literally? The cultural integration team spread throughout Earth, learning languages, customs, and social norms. Most Federation species adapted well to the gravitational differences and atmospheric composition, though protective measures were necessary. The humans, for their part, showed remarkable adaptability in communicating with beings vastly different from themselves. 6 months into the diplomatic mission, a disturbing pattern emerged. While most Earth nations had established predictable protocols for interaction, America remained a wild variable. Federation observers in Washington, D.C. reported one set of official policies, while those in Texas encountered entirely different attitudes. California approached aliens with environmental concerns, while Florida reports were flagged for possible hallucinogenic contamination of the observation team. They're not merely a nation of contradictions, Vax Mora reported during the quarterly assessment. They're a contradiction of what a nation should be. Their federal system allows for 50 semi-autonomous governments, plus territories, all operating under different laws with different priorities. Commander Tal Shiri reviewed the report with growing concern. Their military capabilities. Excessive, Vax Mora admitted. But that's not what makes them dangerous. It's their resourcefulness, their improvisation. Other nations follow protocols. Americans create new protocols on the fly. Ambassador Jolak's crystalline form pulsed with intensity. The Federation Council has designated America as a priority cultural study. We need to understand them better. If Earth is a death world, America might well be the deadliest environment on that world, not for its physical dangers, but for its unpredictability. The Federation's attempts to categorize American society grew increasingly frustrated. Other Earth cultures, while diverse, followed recognizable patterns. American culture seemed to thrive on internal contradiction. A nation founded on freedom that had practiced slavery. A people who championed individualism while displaying fierce collective patriotism when threatened. A society that could elect completely opposing political viewpoints in alternating cycles. They call it the Great Experiment, noted Nixterra. Their entire national identity is based on the concept of ongoing self-reinvention. They don't expect to achieve perfection. They expect to continually transform. For a galactic community built on stability and predictable outcomes, America represented everything dangerous about humanity's potential. If Earth was classified as a death world because of its physical challenges, America might be the ultimate expression of how those challenges had shaped human evolution, creating a society that thrived on disruption and viewed stability with suspicion. We need to establish a more comprehensive presence, Commander Tal Shiri decided. Not just diplomatic, but cultural. We need to understand what makes Americans American. Little did the Federation realize that their decision would plunge them into the heart of humanity's most bewildering and formidable culture, a society that had turned the chaos of a death world into its greatest strength. The American Enigma. The Galactic Federation's expanded cultural mission to America deployed specialists across the diverse nation. Xenoanthropologists embedded themselves in communities from Maine to Hawaii, from urban metropolises to remote rural outposts. Their mission: decode the American enigma. Their contradictions extend beyond governance into their very identity, reported Dr. Kelvana, lead xenoanthropologist. They simultaneously believe they are exceptional while claiming all humans are created equal. They fiercely defend their national borders while celebrating their immigrant heritage. They are deeply religious yet constitutionally secular. Ambassador Jolak's crystalline form shimmered with frustration. Have we identified any consistent patterns? Only one, Kelvana replied. Their response to challenges. Americans possess an almost pathological optimism, when confronted with problems that would paralyze other cultures. Where most species seek stability, Americans appear to thrive in conditions of creative disruption. The Federation's scientific teams had established a research outpost in Colorado, taking advantage of the relative isolation and varied ecosystem. Their studies of Earth's flora and fauna were progressing well until an unexpected regional power failure plunged the facility into darkness. The backup systems, designed for the thin atmosphere of the Federation's homeworlds, failed in Earth's oxygen-rich environment. Critical biological samples were at risk of degradation. The facility's communication array went offline, cutting them off from their orbital support vessels. For any other Federation outpost, this would trigger emergency evacuation protocols. The small town near the facility responded differently. Within an hour, a convoy of pickup trucks arrived. Local electricians, carrying tools and generators, offered assistance without being asked. A high school science teacher brought dry ice from the school lab to preserve samples. When Federation engineers explained their communication problems, a teenage girl offered to boost the signal through her amateur radio setup. By midnight, the facility had jury-rigged power, preserved samples, and restored communications, not through Federation protocols, but through impromptu collaboration with humans who saw problems as puzzles rather than crises. They didn't wait for authorization, reported Facility Director Dr. Mendera in wonder. They didn't form committees or seek consensus. They just acted. This incident captured the attention of the Federation Council. America's decentralized problem-solving represented either a tremendous asset or a dangerous destabilizing force for the galactic community. The Council's concerns were soon tested beyond anticipation. 3 months into the expanded mission, Federation sensors detected an extinction-level threat, an asteroid on collision course with Earth, somehow missed by human observation systems. Impact was calculated in 48 hours, with ground zero in the Pacific Ocean. The resulting tsunamis would devastate coastal regions globally. Federation protocols were clear: evacuation of key diplomatic personnel, preservation of critical human cultural artifacts, and preparation for post-catastrophe humanitarian aid. With insufficient time to mount a deflection mission, the Federation prepared for Earth's greatest crisis since the dinosaur extinction. Commander Tal Shiri made an unprecedented decision. She informed the American government. The response defied all predictive models. Within an hour, a secure video conference connected the Federation's command ship with an improbable coalition: NASA scientists, military generals, oil drilling specialists, nuclear engineers, and even Hollywood special effects experts. The Americans weren't planning for evacuation. They were strategizing deflection. "It's insanity," protested Vax Mora. "They have no technology capable of altering an asteroid's trajectory with such limited time." The American plan emerged with stunning speed. Repurpose an experimental military satellite equipped with a kinetic energy weapon. Combine it with propulsion technology adapted from their nuclear submarine program and guidance systems from their latest Mars rover project. Technologies never designed to work together, teams never meant to collaborate, all focusing on a solution experts deemed impossible. Federation engineers observed with professional skepticism as the Americans essentially invented new physics on the fly. When theoretical obstacles arose, they bypassed them with practical workarounds. When materials failed, they substituted alternatives never intended for space applications. Against all probability calculations, the improvised deflection system launched 27 hours after detection. Federation sensors tracked its trajectory with precision, expecting failure at every stage. The modified satellite intercepted the asteroid 17 hours later, delivering precisely calculated kinetic impact that fractured the space rock along natural fault lines. The fragments shifted course enough to miss Earth entirely. The Federation Council convened an emergency session. Everything they understood about technological development and crisis response had been upended. A civilization they had classified as primitive had accomplished in 2 days what might have taken the Federation 2 years of committee meetings to approve. Ambassador Jolak addressed the council. "We have fundamentally misunderstood both Earth and humanity. We classified Earth as a death world based on its physical challenges, gravity, predators, climate extremes. But these challenges didn't limit human development. They accelerated it." The ambassador's crystalline form pulsed with emphasis, and nowhere is this more evident than in American society. What we perceived as dangerous chaos is actually evolutionary adaptation. Their decentralized innovation, their individual initiative, their ability to form spontaneous collaborations, these aren't flaws in their civilization. They are adaptations to surviving on a death world. The Federation's classification system underwent its first major revision in 7 centuries. Earth remained a Class 5 death world, but with a critical annotation. Its challenges have produced not merely survivors, but innovators. The very conditions that made Earth deadly have forged a species that thrived on overcoming impossible odds. America received special classification, Adaptive Crucible, a society that had institutionalized the chaos of innovation, transforming the unpredictability of a death world into a cultural strength. 1 year after first contact, the Federation established its first joint research facility with humans, not in the controlled environments of Europe or the hierarchical structure of Asia, but in the chaotic innovation hubs of America. Federation scientists worked alongside human counterparts, learning to embrace improvisation alongside careful method. They remained dangerous. Vax Mora cautioned during the project's launch. Their solutions often create new problems. Their technology advances faster than their wisdom. Indeed, agreed Commander Tal Shiri. But consider the alternative. A species evolved on a death world will either overcome challenges or perish. Earth has forced humanity to become problem solvers. America has turned problem solving into an art form. The Federation's final assessment acknowledged a profound truth. The galaxy's greatest dangers often produced its greatest innovations. Earth's status as a death world had not limited humanity, but defined its greatest strength, the ability to face impossible odds with inexplicable confidence. And America, that confounding, contradictory society, represented humanity's ultimate response to living on a death world, not merely to survive its challenges, but to celebrate them as opportunities for growth. The Federation had arrived expecting to guide a primitive species. They departed having learned a lesson as old as Earth itself. That which does not kill us makes us stronger. And Americans, it seemed, had made an entire culture from that premise. Earth was indeed a death world. America was indeed its most extreme expression. But in the vastness of the cosmos, perhaps such extremes were exactly what was needed.